Hello and welcome to another episode of Golden Nuggets with Silvia Eldawi. Today I'm joined by Brett Hartley-Wilson of Huspy, which is the largest mortgage intermediary in the country. And also I just learned it's one of the largest brokerages in Dubai and also Spain.
Yes, that's right. Something that we go a bit under the radar on,
Yeah.
but our real estate part of the business is growing very quickly as well.
The big recruitment drive, you're up to 130 agents
Just
now?
shy of 130, and we started with 10 back in June. So we've grown the team at a very fast speed, but we've managed to make sure that everyone's able to make sales, make money, and provide good service to their customer as well.
So you're not just kind of hiring with no...
We're not hiring for the sake of hiring, but we've noticed a lot of people are looking for a place to really develop their career and get that professional development and sense of community that they want from a brokerage firm. And I think the way we've set up Huspy and the culture around the company, which is a little bit different to the other players on the market, is really attractive to people who are looking for a different way to do real estate.
I've got to admit, I've been to your offices a couple of times, and every time I walk in, I feel like I'm in Silicon Valley. Like, it doesn't look like your typical real estate brokerage, everyone in suits and stuff. It is like a tech startup. It's like Google offices, right?
Well, we have this amazing space that we call the garden, right? Which is this kind of hollowed out 2-story space with a lot of glass. We have a coffee bar. We provide free coffee to all our employees. And we hope to create a relaxed environment. But more importantly, we really believe in the power of being yourself and being an individual. So we're not looking for cookie cutter agents. And while we have some minimum expectations around how you should dress and present yourself, we want everyone to have their own personality.
Yeah.
I think that's one of our strengths.
And that is something that's quite... It's a real talking point at the moment, is individuality, authenticity. There's a lot of competition in real estate in particular, and standing out from the competition, which we're gonna get your insights later on. But I want to know about your background first, because a little birdie tells me you speak Chinese. So
that's a bit out of the box.
Ni hao. That's all I've got. But yeah, you just came to Dubai in 2023.
Yes.
And you're in China for working for
Beiker, yeah.
Beiker. What does Beiker stand? What does it mean?
Well, I think you wouldn't be able to guess, even if I gave you a multiple choice list of options. Beiker actually means seashell. Seashell.
Okay.
And the idea behind naming it seashell is that it's a little bit distinctive. It's got cut through, and more than that, we hoped it would be a shell in which there are a lot of different services, but there's also a sense of security as well. I don't know if a seashell gives that feeling to everyone, but that's the way they thought of it in China. Kind of a shell that has a lot of different services inside. It is also something nice to look at and has a different feel to it.
Okay, I can see some real creative juice went into that.
It's nice to have a company that's not home this or home that.
Yeah. No, that's true. Okay, and what did Beiker do? What does Beiker do? Yeah.
When I joined back in 2015, it was just an offline brokerage like many that we see in Dubai. What it was able to do is get really good at offline brokerage and then become an online platform. So it was a place where people could go and look at really high quality listings, more listings than anyone else, and then be connected with an agent. And the platform was able to put some minimum standards under agents, right? Which is a big issue in developing economies like China. People don't know who to trust. They don't know if the service is reliable. And obviously buying a house is a lot of money. It's a big decision. So this company was able to use a combination of online and offline to give people a real sense of security and transparency.
Because there's not a lot of renting going on in China, right? It's mostly home ownership.
Yeah, that's a great point. In China, only around 10% of people rent, whereas in the UK or the US or Australia, where I'm from, it's usually around 30%.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was an online...
offline
like a portal.
to offline, yeah.
Okay, so it's like a portal...
Yeah.
With a brokerage or working with the brokerages?
The platform now covers an umbrella of 100 different real estate brokerage brands, right? And they all work exclusively. It would be like here in the UAE if you signed up with Property Finder and you could only work with
List
Property
with Property-
Finder
okay,
to the
got it.
exclusion of the other guys. Another point of difference is Beiker doesn't take advertising fees up front. So when you list, you don't have to pay. You pay when you make the transaction.
Got it,
So
right.
it's a little bit different to other models we see around the world for PropTech.
And so we think, you know, UAE is competitive, the UK is competitive. There must be billions of real estate agents in
Well,
China.
I don't know about billions, but
A few good million.
there's about 1.2 to 1.3 million real estate agents in China. But it's a very, very competitive industry, and it's one in which it's very difficult to survive. In China, the typical real estate agent will only make it 9 months into their career before dropping out and trying something else.
Right. And actually, that's something that you said in another one of your podcasts was agents simply don't stay in the industry long enough
Yes.
to become professional at what they do.
A lot of people ask me what goes into making a good agent. And of course, there are a lot of different factors. But for me, the cleanest way to figure out if someone's a good agent or not is how long they've been in the industry. Ours is a funny one. I often compare it to being kind of a Deliveroo driver, etc., where if you start working for Deliveroo...
No offense, real estate agents.
Well, just for purposes of comparison, let's just think about it. When you start working for Deliveroo, for example, on your first day and your 100th day, you're going to be roughly about the same level, right? You take the food, you look at the map, and you deliver it to the point you have to get to. And there's not a lot of efficiency or better customer service you can provide by just being there longer. Maybe you can get faster at driving. Maybe you can know the restaurants or the vendors better. But with real estate, the more you practice, the more clients you meet, the more familiar you are with an area, the more efficient and the more productive you become. So we really encourage people to make a 9-month plan, a 2-year plan, and then a 5-year plan to think about where they want to be in this industry over a longer period of time.
'Cause when do you think the typical breaking point is for an agent? So if you got into the industry, you know, is it 6 months? I think what tends to happen is at 6 months, they switch brokerages.
Yes.
Thinking that the brokerage was the issue,
Yes.
when all along it's probably them, perhaps. But what would your kind of 1-year advice be? The first year advice be?
Well, the first is to commit to going for 3 months, right? So we do see a lot of people drop out before they get to their 3rd month because
They've run out of money, probably.
run out of money is a big one, particularly in a city like Dubai, or it just becomes a little bit overwhelming for them, or they just find it's very difficult to get traction with a customer. But it's something you really have to stick at. So a good new recruit, I would really challenge them, even if it's in rental, to make their first deal in 3 months. And like you said, I think 6 months is a good yardstick to see if you're really a good fit for this industry or not. And there's no secret formula to being a good real estate agent. Some people have an innate ability to just communicate really well and make deals happen that might not have happened on their own. But for the vast majority of us, it's just about being organized and about being persistent. I think that's really, and I know that's not a very sexy way to think about it, but that's really a big difference between the guys who make it and then build a career in real estate and the guys who don't. Yeah.
And you guys, I mean, Huspy's backed by, you know, got some big VCs backing Huspy. You got Sequoia Capital, Fifth Wall. Like if you're a PropTech startup, these are names that you would dream of backing. So where does that money go in kind of developing the real estate agents themselves, like identifying a good one, nurturing a good one? How does being VC backed benefit the agents that
obviously
come and work for you?
Huspy, first and foremost, is famous or relatively well known for mortgages, right? That's where the company started.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of interest among investors in digitizing how mortgages are completed, because traditionally mortgages, like real estate's been a very offline process and very annoying, right? We've all done it.
Super annoying,
Finding all these documents that you don't typically have around the house, stacking them up, driving them somewhere, finding out you're missing one. It's just a real pain. So
getting it translated,
or stamped or whatever. There's any number of things you have to do, and missing something along the line can push you back and make the process even longer. So what Huspy did that was different is use technology to make that process easier to deal with as a customer, and then faster as a broker. So brokers can help their clients be more organized and get the documentation to the bank
because you've got the broker app as well, so that
Yes.
they can track their own
Yeah.
deals for your channel partners. And then you've got does the person taking out the mortgage, they have their own app, or?
They use elements of technology,
Okay.
but it's the app is generally for the brokers. But what we were able to do successfully in the mortgage part of Huspy is, as I said, untangle a lot of the complexity, and that really caught the eye of investors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, it caught the eye of real estate agency
Sure.
brokerages as well, because they were like, okay, a
Yeah.
simple way of
Yeah.
doing it, upload your,
100%.
track and upload everything onto an application. But then you turned into a brokerage.
Yeah.
And that might have been a bit controversial, or, there's a lot of mistrust in the industry. So did you kind of feel that at some point you started losing broker partners because they were like, oh no, now they're competition. They're going to take all of our mortgage leads, and sell to them. Is that something that you experienced?
Look, it's something that people raise with me, but the reality is that's not something that's ever really happened. There's a firewall between both part of those business. When someone trusts us with a lead for a mortgage, we make sure that that's watertight, and we use it for a mortgage only, and we don't. In one sense, us taking a lead from another broker and giving it to our real estate team is really biting the hand that feeds us. So we're not interested in doing that.
And likewise, if someone's thinking about joining Huspy, they shouldn't assume that, there's so many more leads because of the mortgage side of the business. What are you doing to attract leads? What's the kind of...
Well, look, we use a lot of the channels that everyone else in the market uses. I think one of the attractions from the customer's point of view in buying a home through Huspy is that they can get a high quality mortgage faster, right?
Yeah.
In other words, I see a house that I like, I need to get a mortgage. Huspy offers me a high quality real estate service, but then they offer me a mortgage service in the same place. And as we were talking about before, it's a real headache when you have to deal with a bunch of different people and go to this office and that office. With Huspy, we're really trying to offer something that's a bit more streamlined and using technology to make it even easier to deal with. Yeah.
And what's your advice to buyers? Get your mortgage pre-approval first and then start shopping, or start shopping and then see if you can afford it? Which way does it tend to happen?
I think that's up to everyone. It's a very personal question. Some people like the excitement of kind of picking stuff they like and then finding out if they can afford it or not. Some people are more practical and figuring out where that ceiling is for them and then looking for a property accordingly.
Because I remember in the UK, it used to be a case of, a property that cost an extra, let's say, 10,000 or I don't know, 50,000 pounds.
Yes.
It's only a small amount on your monthly mortgage.
Yes.
So you think that, without actually going through the process of getting the mortgage pre-approval, you think, I can afford this monthly repayment, but actually, and I can only look at properties that are worth this. But actually, when you get into the nitty gritty, you realize maybe you could take it up a notch.
Well, our real estate agents are all trained to provide that kind of advice to clients in any event. So if they come to Huspy without a pre-approval, we'll make sure they get good guidance around what they're likely to be able to afford and what they probably have to save a few more years for.
Brilliant. And you been here less than a year.
Yeah.
Did you buy or rent when you got here?
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to buy yet. Look, I'm sure at some point I'll enter the market because I think there's a lot of great choice and it's actually a beautiful place to live, which I think is different to a lot of people's perception of the city before they come here. That's at the moment I'm renting.
Had you been here before you're Australian, so you probably stopped off in Dubai on every trip.
I must say, my experience with Huspy is my first time in the Middle East.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And how did it meet your expectations moving from China to the Middle East?
It kind of blew away my expectations because I think I had the view that a lot of people have who've never been to Dubai, that it's just a kind of a speck of a city and an otherwise large sea of deserts. But it's not like that at all. Highly livable, great people. What I love about the city and Huspy as well is just how diverse it is. And you meet people from countries you might not even have heard of before.
True. Yeah.
And that provides me with a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And it also means it's a great place to innovate as well.
very inspirational place, and a different kind of energy as well.
It's fantastic.
Okay, and what was your experience renting like? How was that for you?
Well, the first thing is it's probably a bit more expensive than I was anticipating than what I was used to. But look, there are a lot of, the main thing I think is, do you want to live somewhere that's cheaper to rent, or do you want to live close to your work? And it's hard to find a balance between those two
well,
things.
if it's cheaper to rent, you're going to have to get a car as
Yes,
well.
exactly.
And that's you're not driving.
I am driving.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I was like, but you took a taxi to the studio.
I took a taxi here. I don't like parking, but I'm
parking's a
fine.
nightmare.
Yeah,
Absolute nightmare. Okay. And the agency experience, did you end up renting through Huspy or through another agency?
No, unfortunately at that time, Huspy didn't offer rental. I'm glad to say we fixed that. So we do now. But at that time, I had to go to a competitor agency. And look, the process was fine and the experience is fine, but it was pretty much in line with what I've seen since, right? People are just in a rush to make deals happen for a bunch of different reasons. Or maybe the market's so hot, agents don't put the right emphasis or premium on good service. So at least in my experience, the agent helped me find an apartment I was looking for, kind of put in place the contract. And once I'd paid the money, that was really end of our relationship. Whereas, look, I am someone in the future probably looking to buy, and I think a good agent invests in that relationship.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So in 2 years' time, when I feel like I'm ready to enter the market, that agent is among the first people I contact.
They would have been had they stayed in contact with you. But they kind of hit it in there. Well, I keep repeating this sentence in the episodes, but it's that hit it and quit it mentality. Got the check, move on to the next. When actually nurturing your existing clientele makes more sense than going to try and find you, because you'll probably be ready to buy at some point.
I'd say so. And look, in particular with rental, because most renters, a lot of renters are just newly arrived to Dubai, right? There's a lot of things they don't know. And actually the paperwork around renting can be quite fiddly.
Yeah.
So a helping hand around that stuff, I think, is really valued. And it's something that stays with you. So in this case, I must confess, I don't think I got the right level of service I was looking for. But as I said, I think that's pretty much in line with what we see across the market.
Yeah.
That's something in Huspy we'd like to change.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you think you're going to change that?
Well, it goes back to some of the themes we've already discussed. If there's a way to use technology to help the customer help themselves, right? In other words, there's a place I can go where I can see all my paperwork, I can interact with the process, I can talk to the agents or someone from the agency support team in a seamless way. It's these little things that make the overall experience better. And it helps the agency or the brokerage keep in touch with me as well. So that's definitely our vision at Huspy, to create a digital platform where people can access a lot of different services over an extended period of time.
And you've expanded to, I mean, the typical expansion of a Dubai tech company would probably be Saudi next, or, I don't know, maybe Egypt. You went to Spain. Why Spain?
Nice weather.
Makes sense.
Great food. Great music. There's a lot of things to like about Spain. Looking at the market in particular, a lot of the problems that we saw in Dubai or challenges we also saw in Spain. One interesting thing about Spain is you don't need a license to be an agent.
Oh, anyone can be an agent.
Anyone can be. They can walk in and be an agent. So that creates its own series of challenges, and it's a big market. A lot of houses there, and a lot of people looking to buy and rent, etc. So we thought we could use some of the things we'd learned in Dubai to make a difference in Spain. And I think that we're starting to see that already. We have a network of freelance agents that aren't employed by us, but who work with us. And month on month, we're seeing a lot of new people walk through the door.
And because you don't need to have a license to be an agent, do you find that in Spain there's a lot of kind of like part-time agents or side hustle agents?
Yeah, so our hope is that we take the professional agents and use technology and training to make them better. And then, like you said, bring some of those part-time people maybe off the bench, people who only want real estate to be a small part of what they do, and they can use the app to achieve that.
Amazing. All right, we'll take it to stark differences between UAE, China, and Spain. Hit me.
I see.
Hit me.
Well, UAE is the hottest. I put them in order. In terms of hustle, I think China probably has the UAE beat.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. Explain.
Well, I think the reality is in China, there are just a lot of people, right? And everyone wants to get to the top. And there's this ingrained mentality about making it. And that exists in the UAE too, but it's even more pronounced in China.
So like head to head, the top agents in China, would they run circles around the top agents in Dubai, do you think?
No, that's a great question. And the answer is no. The top agent in Dubai would actually make significantly more money than the top agent in China. But there's a lot more agents in China vying to be number one.
Yeah.
Actually, the top agent in Dubai and the UAE is going to make considerably more money than the top agent in China. But in China, there are a lot more people vying to be number one.
In that top,
and they probably start from a lower base as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people move from the countryside to the city and try and be agents, etc. So,
and how, I mean, and this applies, I guess, China, Spain, and UAE, but what would your advice be to an agent, how to stand out from the competition?
Yeah.
Like what are you telling them to encourage them to stand out?
look, there's going to be no magic formula or silver bullets to standing out. I think it's just a combination of simple things you can do. Like, this probably goes unsaid, but knowing what you're doing and being very familiar with the market and the community you serve, that already sets you apart from a lot of agents.
Yeah.
Let's just be realistic about that. Being organized and being persistent, sharing useful information on a regular basis with your customer is another simple thing that
It's just such basics.
anyone can do, right? And then apart from that, I think we are entering into an era of personal branding. In fact, we're already there, but it's speeding up. And the future is going to look much more like agents going direct to the customer and maybe not relying on the portals to the same degree they have before. And then equally the customer looking for an agent that is also a brand, because one of the big things about real estate, this industry, is trust, right? And what a brand does for an agent is it creates trust. Now, at the moment, someone like Huspy or one of our competitors can help agents provide that trust. I believe in the future, it'll be more and more about the agent as an individual.
I 100% agree with you. And I had, I was on a podcast over Christmas with a British property journalist. And in the UK, they've got to the stage where, like, it's all about the company brand, the brokerage brand. They don't allow their agents to post on social media, like stuff on social. Like they don't call the marketing department the marketing department. They call it the brand police.
I see.
And I was like, this is just crazy. You've got to, like, we are shifting to, as you mentioned, personal brand rather than the agency brand. And we've got, had this conversation a few times about agents having two separate Instagram accounts or TikTok accounts. Like, well, this is my personal and this is my professional. Whereas I'm a firm believer you should just blend it into one, because people want to see your personality, that you have a life, that you have hobbies. So I know you're not on social media, although you think LinkedIn is...
Sorry.
You said, does LinkedIn count? But what would your kind of social media advice be?
I think you nailed it. And it does link back to what we were talking about before, trust and transparency. Another way to say that is authenticity, right?
Yeah.
In other words, if I go on your Instagram, I get a complete sense of who you are. And it doesn't have to be highly polished or look expensive or fancy. In fact, I think often the more raw something is, the more believable it is. So a lot of people think the bar is very high for doing their own content or becoming their own quote unquote brand. I don't agree with that. I think start small, start with really who you really are, be professional, and just share your honest views. And do it frequently enough, people will start to take notice.
I mean, you're not on social media, so you may not have noticed, but people in Dubai don't tend to show their raw, real, authentic side. It's all glitz and glamour and, cars and watches. So I think it would be really refreshing to just see a bit of authenticity.
I think that's a great point. And I think it's also a matter of self-filtering. Like, the people who are inclined to do that glossy, fancy type of marketing, they're the ones who are focusing on social media more than the other agents. Whereas I think there's a place for any agents to have some kind of social media presence. And look, it doesn't have to be you driving around a sports car or eating at brunch at a fancy place. it can just be insights from your day-to-day work or what you're seeing in the market. I think people appreciate that kind of stuff. For me, and look, I might be a bit out of the norm on this topic, but I like the real estate agent to look and feel like me. Like I want them to be a normal person.
Yeah.
And
So not necessarily in a suit and driving a flashy car.
That's my personal preference. And look, one of our top guys at Huspy wears a hoodie and jeans to work, and he's incredibly hard work. He's incredibly professional, and he's very good at his job. So I don't think, look, wearing a suit is good, and again, it helps build trust and a sense of professionalism. But above and beyond that, kind of knowing what you're doing and being warm and genuine, I think that stuff counts for even more.
Okay.
We're getting very emotional.
I'm convinced someone has to cry on this. Okay, and so do Huspy agents get any additional support to encourage them or help them with their social media?
Yeah, we do. We give our agents a lot of training, a lot of advice, and even a little bit of pressure to build their own brand, because a lot of agents, like I said, are a little bit nervous about doing it on their own, or they're a bit camera shy, or for them it's just a bit too hard to juggle their day job with also being active on social media. So we're very, very focused, for the reasons we've discussed, on helping agents develop some kind of personality online, because that's where everyone starts the home buying journey now anyway, right? And look, Property Finder and Beats, they're obviously big parts of how people start their search, but I think more and more people are going to start on Instagram or start on Facebook or start on Google, and you can appear on Google as well. So there are a number of different places where you can be visible outside the portals. And if you're not taking advantage of that, you're really vacating that space for one of your competitors. I
mean, I know the answer to this, but can you just explain how agents can appear on Google?
Well, it's about, for an individual agent, the fastest and cheapest way is to just produce a lot of content, right? And if you want to be more sophisticated over time and have a social media strategy and an SEO strategy for getting your content high to the top, that's something you can think about. But really it starts with, like I said, putting your own videos on YouTube, writing content.
YouTube shorts.
Yeah, that's the shorter the better in 2024, right?
Yeah.
But having sharp, hot takes on the market, or as we just discussed, showing yourself, showing parts of your work, celebrating your achievements. These are simple things that if you do them long enough, then you will start to appear, And by the way, if you do it long enough, you're also making sales and your customers remember who you are. And that's another way to build, an organic way to build business as well. Yeah.
And talking about Jad, one of the co-founders, he's definitely a kind of the Zuckerberg of the Middle East, can we say? But he's definitely move fast, break things. That's his character. What's it like working with someone like that?
Yeah, well, even for me, coming from a high-paced environment like China, Jad just has a winning mentality on this kind of stuff, and he knows where he wants to go, and he knows how to get there. And I think that's...
bring everyone there with him.
Yeah. We once had a guy who wore a t-shirt to the office, and it had like a flower growing slowly on it, and it's like it had something like good things take time, or just because you can't see something happening doesn't mean it's not happening, or something that. Yeah. That's not really the way we approach things at Huspy. We want to do things the right way and in a scalable and replicable way, but we want to do things quickly. The company's only 3 years old.
Yeah, it's a baby. It's still a toddler.
So it's great to work with Jad. One thing I love about working with him is he pushes me to think even bigger than I may have done before, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, he's very much a kind of, and I remember one time I spoke to him, he was like, everything you got to do, bam, bam, bam. I was like, what? Okay, and what's next for Huspy?
Well, look, we've always been very transparent about where the company wants to get to and what's important to us. Obviously, we run a mortgage business, a mortgage aggregation business here in the UAE that a lot of people know about. And our plan is to make that business even deeper and wider as well. So provide even better service to people who want to get a home loan and help more people across different markets in the UAE and potentially other parts of the Gulf as well. So that's how we think about mortgage and real estate. Our ambition is to be among the leading names in the industry here in the UAE.
And then worldwide.
That's right. I think we're on track to do that. And above and beyond that, we really have ambitions to be a success story for a Middle East company that's cracked it in Europe.
Yeah.
So
up there with the Kareems and Souk.com. And
that's where we'd love to be. But both feet on the ground. This is a difficult business because there's a lot of human involvement, right? And selling a house or getting a mortgage, something takes a little bit of time. But I feel we're on the right track and we're very ambitious about what we can achieve.
Okay, Brett, how on earth did you get from 10 agents to 100 and something in 6 months? Because I know every agency is struggling to hire right now. So is there a carrot? How are you doing this?
There are carrots, but there's something else I'd like to add as well. We actually have very low turnover. We don't lose a lot of agents. At least the agents who are performing with us, they've all stuck and remained loyal with us. So
what's the secret sauce?
For me, getting agents on board is about explaining our vision about how we see real estate a little bit different to the other guys. And they look at our mortgage team as well and see that we've already had success in a short period of time. And the way we use technology as well to make the agents' everyday work a little bit easier. So there's some of the things, obviously the free coffee as well.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's a plus.
That could be.
So you've got the garden,
Yes.
what's it called? The garden.
The garden. Yes.
The free coffee, the casual or, dressed down.
I'd say a more flexible approach to what agents wear to work. A chance to look, we obviously employ a lot of engineers and we have a mortgage team as well. So a real estate agent joining Huspy gets exposure to lots of other different types of business functions that
the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's right. So that they maybe not get at the other agencies or competitors. So they're kind of the things that get people interested. On top of that, we've always believed in, let's just call them service providers, because we have real estate agents and mortgage brokers. We have some other guys as well. Anyone who is customer facing, we believe in being really generous with commission and in other benefits to the greatest extent we can be, because we know it's a hard job, right? A lot of people in industries like mortgage and real estate, they start the first day of every month not knowing what they'll make at the end of the month.
True.
It's
like other entrepreneurs.
Anyways, it's a high stress, kind of high intensity job. And our view is that people who perform deserve to be well compensated. So apart from providing rates of commission, which are generally speaking above market rates, we're also more generous and flexible in offering RERA, car parking, and some other benefits as well that we use to help agents get on their feet and get selling as quickly as possible.
I think out of everything you said there, I think the most attractive one is the car parking.
Yeah,
that's a big problem.
Of course. I mean, that's something that the agents told us, and we can't write a blank check on car parking, but we try and be a little bit more generous in helping agents. Obviously, you need a car to do showings and go meet your customer, etc. So we try and, to the greatest degree possible, be flexible on that stuff.
Make it easier for them to come.
And we think it makes a difference, right? If we invest in you today, we get that return on investment tomorrow. So we're taking a longer view, and our aim is to build a really large, talented team, and for that talent to stick with us. Yeah.
And are they sticking with you because they have to jump through quite a lot of hoops at the beginning to get a role at Huspy, or is it, do you have a different kind of staff retention, team retention style?
Look, I think every agency, every brokerage, and indeed any kind of service industry company that wants to grow quickly has to strike that balance between quantity and quality, right? And you don't exclusively want to deal with the top 10% of people, because that's really limiting the pool of talent you can work with. On the other end, you don't just want to hire anyone. So look, we do try and put in place some standards, but if someone has a personality or someone pitches us their ambition for what they want to achieve, to be honest, we pick up a lot of people who have not been successful at other agencies, and it's often because they couldn't deal with the strict workflow, or they didn't like the environment there, and we're offering something where they're allowed to express themselves a bit more.
Flexible.
It's not always the case where just because I failed at my previous agencies, I fail here. So there are cases where people who want a chance to turn their career around come to Huspy. We give them that chance, and they appreciate us all the more for it. So
what about rookies?
I mean, I love that as well. In China, we only hired people fresh out of university.
Right.
So we give them the training that they need. We assign them to a manager and we teach them how to do real estate. And I like that. I mean, often they're people who, as you're aware, they've just arrived in Dubai and the sky's the limit. For me, there's very few things in this industry I get more satisfaction and enjoyment out of than seeing a guy or a girl in their early 20s come in and be very successful and change their life. That's one thing that real estate or mortgage can do. It can be life-changing if you're good enough. Yeah.
And what kind of commissions you're paying over, better than average commissions? How high are you going?
So we're starting at 55%, and then there's a band that goes up anywhere up to 80%. And one thing Huspy does, which I've never seen before, is we pay week on week.
Okay.
Typically for a real estate agent, I get paid on the
The
money
month.
arrays, right? The money comes in on the first of the month. I have to wait to the end of the month to get that money.
Yeah.
At Huspy, we've decided to pay people as the money arrives. We know that cash flow is an issue for agents in the city, right? It's an expensive place to live. Your rents might be due on the 15th, but you don't get paid at the end of the month.
True. Yeah.
So that's just another example of things we've done to make life easier for agents. And we do believe over the long time, we'll reap the dividends of that as well. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of your top agents. What are they doing differently? What are they? What makes them stand out?
It's not really the things they do different. I mean, it's the things that these top guys do that is all the same that I think makes them so exceptional. And it really starts with working hard.
Yeah.
They get all the headlines for the big deals and the luxury property, etc. But behind that, there's just a real intensity and focus to what they do every day, And I've always found personally and this might be a bit of a hot take or a bit counterintuitive to what we've seen in the industry, but the guys with a lot of humility and a lot of, and their feet firmly.
Humility?
Yeah, I know.
Dubai? What?
That's a dirty word in real estate, but the people with a bit of humility and ability and willingness to share what they've learned and help others out. For me, they're the people who get to the top and stay at the top. And I really feel in our company, they're the people who set the tone for how we do business.
And that's interesting because actually one of the stark contrasts between the UK and the UAE that I've witnessed is that they're a lot more free and sharing. There's a lot more, support of your fellow agents in the UK than there is here. Here it's very secretive, a lot of mistrust, and you're not going to lift up other agents around you. We could all win. I think the pie is big enough to have a substantial pie, a slice of the pie, but everyone's quite cagey and...
Yeah, at Huspy, we love pie. I mean, and the reality...
At Huspy, we love pie.
We love pie. The reality is not sharing and not working together. It's kind of a lose-lose situation. By sharing our customers and our listings, we can make deals happen faster. We can lift up the overall standard of the agents we work with, and we can come to work happier and really take pride that we're moving the needle and we're creating a company that's offering a valuable service. Whereas this zero-sum thinking around it's my deal and me alone, and I've got to be
my
at the top.
client.
Yeah, of course. And we'd like having a competitive dynamic is very, very healthy, but it has to be one that also understands that we're part of a team. So I started out as an agent or something like an agent in China, and that was what was drummed into me. You do better when you work as a team.
Yeah.
Real estate, mortgage is a team sport. And that's kind of a way of thinking that we really try and emphasize at Huspy.
That's different. That's definitely a differentiator because...
Look, does it work every day? And, is everyone sharing everything? Of course not. But we hope that agents trust each other and feel comfortable enough to share and know that if they play by the rules, they're rewarded. Whether that's a step up the career ladder or sharing that next client to make that next deal. Look, we think there are a lot of benefits to agents working closer rather than all being in silos and running like a pack of dogs.
Yeah. And there is very much, because of the way agents are paid here, either at 50-50, there is that, rather than these are agents of Huspy or employees, it's more of a partnership. Like, I'm a partner of the company. And they have that kind of mentality of being, no, you're my partner. Huspy's my partner.
100%. And I think that's part of how Jad started the company and what he saw in the company. It's a technology company that offers these services. And we do want the agents to feel more like collaborators, not just employees that we've assembled out of a box. So that's something we are very, very committed to. And it goes back to what we were discussing earlier. In a world where everyone is their own brand, particularly when you're trying to offer a service in a very crowded marketplace, we want to encourage people to have personality. We don't want everyone necessarily to look the same, say the same words, do the same things every day. It's about setting in place some minimum standards, which we think are important, and letting people express themselves on top of that. Now, will everyone be successful? No, they won't. But we want to give everyone a chance to win or lose on their own merits. Yeah.
And create authentic content.
100%.
Be your authentic
like you and I are
self.
doing right now.
Yeah, just be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Yeah. And look, I started my career, as I said, at the kind of somewhere towards the bottom of the ladder. This is obviously in China, where it's a little bit more unique. But but I understand it, and I've had clients stolen from me. I've had conflicts now and then with the people I work with, and I know it's a very tough industry, and I think that allows us to better provide for the agents we have today and give them what they really need and help them be the best version of themselves, rather than just creating kind of a chessboard and putting the agents on and seeing where things fall. So that's not the way we do things at Huspy.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to end this episode with like, share, and subscribe in Chinese.
Oh.
Do you know that? Do you know how to? Can you say that for us?
Yeah, sure.
You're going to sign out. You're going to look at the camera, and you're going to say, like, share, and subscribe. Or thank you for watching.
Now I feel very embarrassed. I think I sound bad in English. 谢谢关注，欢迎点赞、分享或者注册我们这个 podcast 节目。
I love it. Brilliant. Thank you.
你好，再见。
Love that. You rock in Chinese.